With all of the negative headlines dominating the news these days, it can be difficult to spot signs of progress. What makes you optimistic about the future? askReddit guys, subscribe now, or I will call the police. The plummeting price of solar and wind energy. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I will be investing it in solar. Absolute upvote. In Australia there has been incredible penetration of solar power in the last 10 years, all driven by the economics of solar power. In the last 10 years, well, 2018 is even better than the last 10 years in terms of prices, payoff periods, and sales of solar panels have reflected that. People are installing their panels en masse with zero subsidies. Businesses big and small, covering their roofs. It is so crazy. There may be a glut of power in SA when the sun shines, at least. Edit. SA equals SOUTH Australia. THX/U/royalds in as few as 5 years time, considering the rate of growth. On one Sunday, a few months ago, 50% of all power in SA was generated by rooftop solar alone. That's not even including wind and other large-scale renewables. We don't have hydro in SA. The magic of all this is that it only took a few years of government investment. The market has ramped up, partly in thanks to those subsidies. We are reaping benefits, and we will be for years to come. Government investment cries in American don't cry too much. The federal government is still trying to peddle clean coal. The federal government is still trying to peddle clean coal. Please tell me this is a joke. It is not. I mean, it is a joke, but it's also not a joke. I mean, I haven't heard much about ISIS recently. That's gotta be a good sign. They no longer control anything meaningful anymore. They are just your garden variety terrorist group now. Why do we even have that garden? And the analogy, the garden is alive. ISIS are the garden variety weeds. If we give up the garden to the weeds, then they've won. This analogy was much more accurate than I first expected when I started reading it. Well done. I'm really impressed. Should we start calling them waswas? ISIS? My goodness, I can't wait to say that out loud. Holy, this post was made 7 minutes ago and already has 300 comments. But anyway, every day we get closer and closer to a cure for cancer. My mum told me about her diagnosis on Sunday. Both of her parents died of cancer too, 12 years apart. Hopefully in the near future, it's something we won't have to worry about. It's because Oppa's Bill Gates. Best of luck to your mum. Didn't even see that. And thank you. It's looking hopeful. They've caught it very early. That's good to hear. Wishing her all the best. Early diagnosis is one of the best scenarios when it comes to cancer in most cases. Till Bill Gates is a karma whore. Not happy with him only getting kajillions of upvotes for his Amma. He's a billionaire. 500k in karma is like $10 to him. Till Bill Gates will always stop to pick up even a single karma on the ground. 1. Since 1990, the number of children who die before their 5th birthday has been cut in half, saving 122 million young lives. 2. In the same period, the fraction of people living in extreme poverty has gone from 1/3 to 1/10. 3. More than 90% of children now attend primary school worldwide. 4. Women now make up more than 1/5 of members of parliaments around the world. 5. Workplace and road safety in the US has risen dramatically since our grandparents' time. Edit. I stole these from this article entitled, Bill Gates. Here are 5 reasons to be optimistic about 2018. This has probably been my finest moment this year. You just gave Bill Gates an answer from Bill Gates. It's an amazing world we live in, isn't it? Road safety in the US has risen dramatically since our grandparents' time. Wow, really? That really shocks me considering how much faster cars are and how many more things we have to distract us. Automotive engineering and safety standards. People though are still just as bad at driving. The possible return of the American chestnut tree. Fast growing, rot resistant, and, perhaps most important, it produces enough calories from the nuts to feed a population. Edit. It turned out that someone from WBUR in Boston saw the interest in this post and wrote an article and made a podcast about it. It's very good. That old chestnut. The death of the American chestnut is also partially responsible for the severity with which the Great Depression struck Appalachia. Chestnuts were a primary food supply for backup reserves in the form of herds of pigs that were allowed free roam. The pigs could be sold or slaughtered to keep families afloat during hard times. The disappearance of the chestnuts killed the viability of the pig herds, causing the economic failsafe to collapse ecologically at the same time that the Great Depression made monetary reserves worthless. All 7 of my honeybee colonies are currently surviving the winter, and today they are bringing in the first pollen of the year. Edit. Also, please support native bees. For why and how at home. Check out Bringing Nature Home by Douglas Tallamy, as well as *BUTTERFLIES like the monarch, and bats. Yay. Go bees. Advancements in medicine and gene therapy. The CRISPR technology has me very excited. Also, the James Webb Space Telescope is going to bring about many new discoveries. It feels like we haven't had a huge discovery recently. Hopefully we get something big within a decade or so. Edit. As people have pointed out, we have made some significant discoveries recently. IDK Man. Evidence of the Higgs boson and the gravitational wave detection from LIGO were both pretty big news. While true, those discoveries don't result in any changes to the everyday lives of your average person. Things like CRISPR have that potential. Not yet. Don't forget that for a while after the harnessing of electricity, no one could think of anything better to do with it than party tricks and such. I have a few friends in the LIGO collaboration that I've partied with. Now I want them to do gravitational wave party tricks. Well, we did find the Higgs boson, and 10 years ago we knew of only a handful of exoplanets, and now there are hundreds that are confirmed to exist and have even been imaged in limited ways. Plus there was that supernova we got footage of from the instant it happened, from our perspective, that was published like yesterday, and CRISPR and other gene editing tools aren't even 10 years old yet. I think the bigger thing is that we've had so many varied breakthroughs in so many fields we may have forgotten how amazing some of the things coming out on the daily are. Like, SpaceX landing a rocket booster is already a ho-hum. That's neat sort of thing, and they only just started nailing it. Growing up as a kid and seeing old sci-fi where rocket ships landed thrusters down was cartoonish and unrealistic to me. Now it's on the way to becoming commonplace. Breakthroughs for days, man. I'm reminded of Sam's speech to Frodo in Osgiliath in the Two Towers. It's like in the great stories Mr. Frodo point the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines it will shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't, because they were holding on to something, that there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. I watched LOTR trilogy last weekend and those movies are full of great scenes and quotes. I love those movies. I love that Moria scene. Many that live deserve death. And some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Followed by F. I wish none of this had happened. G. So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. I love listening to this quote because I always immediately go, and I now decide to spend the next 9 hours of my time watching the rest of the trilogy on a TV screen. I can't carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. Sam and Frodo are genuinely the best brothers ever, and the best part is that they seemingly weren't that close before that whole mess. Sam was just Frodo's gardener, but when Frodo took the ring, Sam took it upon himself to stick by Frodo's side no matter what, and he did. The book version of The Two Towers ends in the craziest way. If you've never watched the movies, Sam spends surprisingly long thinking that Frodo's dead, enough to practically convince you that Sam's the ring bearer now. He's gotta do it. He only realizes that Frodo's still alive as he's carried away to a guard tower, and the book closes along with the gates. I also think on these two quotes when looking to be optimistic about the world. Some believe it is only great power that can hold evil in check, but that is not what I have found. It is the small everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. Why Bilbo Baggins? Perhaps because I'm afraid, and he gives me courage. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I'm always comforted by realizing that there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in this world. That's all Reddit guys, and don't forget, please subscribe, or I will call the police.